Hi, I'm Nancy Boss, and I am here with Kate Fraser-Neely and Joanne Bozeman, and we are the authors of the book Singing Through Change: Women's Voices in Midlife, Menopause, and Beyond. And what we're here today to do is to talk about what we learned while we wrote this best-selling book that was the first of its kind. We had a lot of lessons to learn while we were writing the book. So that's what we're going to share with you today. Kate, why don't you start?
When we were writing the book, I learned that I knew nothing about my body. And I learned that so many of the medical personnel and people that I talked with about what I was feeling truly didn't know an intelligent way to discuss it. I ended up going to a psychologist, which is what a lot of women in perimenopause go to, and I was put on 3 or 4 different kinds of medication. I was put on ADD meds and depression meds and partridge in a pear tree meds. One to put me up and one to put me down. And I had a lot of surgery, which was messing with things. And I learned when I was writing this book with you guys that because we couldn't get concrete help and we couldn't get someone to mirror back to us in a positive way, we take it on as our fault. And the shame and the anxiety and the sadness that this was all somehow my fault became very, very deeply rooted until we started writing the book and I started sort of untangling the threads a little bit.
Yeah.
I had read other menopause books, but somehow it didn't seem to apply to me.
It was amazing to do this as sisters where we helped each other untangle this web.
It was very, very interesting because sometimes our meetings were, this is what happened to me, and the others would be like, you'd go, feel like you'd been hit in the head with a tsunami because of what that other person experienced. And then from that, we could gel it and make it into something useful for others.
I love that. Joanne, what were your big takeaways in writing the book?
I think for me, it was a sort of retroactively finding the community that I didn't have during the time that I was going through those changes. And that not just my voice, but the physical stuff I was going through with perimenopause and menopause. I realized at the time I was very alone. I had a couple of friends that were going through it, but we didn't talk about it that much. And they were not singers, so they didn't have that special part of it. And so in a way, it was sort of a chance to relive that part of my life in community, even though I was all through it, a little bit like what Kate was talking about. I found some community because I was researching it while I was going through it at the same time, but that was like looking at books and journals and not so much talking to other singers about it. But it was educational. I realized, again, it wasn't my fault. I learned that the changes I was experiencing with my voice were not something that I was like becoming a bad singer. We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
Like there were changes going on physiologically that I had to learn how to deal with, but I couldn't, sort of ignore them.
Yeah. And you both had some retrospective awarenesses too. Right. For the last 10 years, I've been blaming myself for such and such. And it turns out, yeah, we heard that from a lot of our readers too, that they gave themselves permission to be proud of what they went through.
And that happens with vocal pathology too. I mean, if people really understood how new the field is for the general voice teacher and the general singer, you'd understand that we're ashamed for that too. We keep thinking we're doing something wrong. And yes, there are some things that might be changed, but need to be changed, but you're not doing anything wrong.
Right. Well, if I can say for my part, there are actually two things. One just popped up into my mind. It's something Joanne has often said, is that we thought we would be writing a book about the impact of hormones on the vocal folds. But instead, we wrote a book about the impact of life on how we sing. And that menopausal journey from, for most people, early 40s until early 60s, perhaps, that is a wicked time of life for change and for the voice and for singing. I was perimenopausal when we started the book with fear. Am I going to lose my voice? What is my future? Am I going to be singing in 4 years? To relief that, oh, okay, we've just interviewed over 50 people, most of whom sing on the other side and are happy with what they do. And so for me, having the two of you help usher me through that phase. You both said you had Oprah usher you through. I had Kate and Joanne. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for being there for me during that tricky time.
I was going to add something else. I think my surprise was that, again, when you do qualitative research, which is what we were doing, you go into it, you don't really have a research question like you do in quantitative research. You just go, let's see what's going on in real life.
Yeah.
You have you start asking some questions, but you don't have like a theory that you're trying to prove. You go in to see what's going on the ground in real life. And so when we interviewed this variety of singers that we had, 56, I think it was, and of all types, right? And many, many genres too were represented. And as we talked to them, we put that jigsaw puzzle together of all those variable experiences. I thought it was fascinating, way more complicated than I expected, because of the things that Nancy was talking about, how life impacted. And that included medical stuff, that included social stuff, psychological stuff, medical, did I say medical? Anyway, yeah, medical changes. So it really did fill out the picture of yes, menopause, changing hormones, voice, plus other things. And I think, and I talked to a friend of mine, I've told this before, but I like the story. I talked to a friend of mine who was a teaching anthropologist at the university that I used to teach at. And I said, we're doing this research. And I said, it's kind of messy. It's kind of untidy. And she said, you know what, Joanne? She said, if it's not messy, I won't believe you. I won't believe the research.
So. That's right. Well, let me just wrap this up by saying that the three of us are thrilled to be there for all of you as you go through the voice changes of midlife and beyond. So thank you for being part of our community.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.